They've been called bugs in a jug. But how can biologicals fit on your farm? I'm Sherry Cook, and in this series, we'll be talking to farmers, advisors, and experts, and we're going to see how they're advancing crop nutrition. And I'm back with Granvil and Steve. Our last episode, we talked about soil testing and tissue samples, and we talked a little bit about biologicals. We'll hit a little bit more on that today. So let's start with a tissue sample, because you've got these out ready to go. How do you use biologicals and how do you utilize the tools that you have here?
So what we like to do is we like to pull pre-application tissue test and post-application tissue test to see which product is making it most effectively into the plant.
So what are we looking at? We're seeing numbers increase where we have the biologicals?
On our biological field that we trialed BioPath with last year, running a 2x2 quart rate, you can see that almost every nutrient has a higher value than the control. And so this top number here is the BioPath, and actually the only number that is less is the potassium. I take weekly tests, and we can look at these numbers every week throughout the year and see where the numbers stay higher than the control all year long.
So why do you do a weekly test?
Well, in a lot of our higher management fields, we're making a lot more than just 1 or 2 applications a year. So by doing weekly tests, we can see what we were before the application, and we can see how long that application lasts. So there may be a micronutrient that we spray on, and it might last 2 weeks, it might last 4 weeks. And that just helps us make better decisions throughout the year as we watch these every week.
And you're starting before the plant ever comes out of the ground with BioPath as your start, and then you also got your part that's not got any treatment on it, so untreated.
Right.
And then you follow that through at different stages, whatever you need at that point.
Right.
And you're definitely seeing differences.
Right.
Right.
Where you have BioPath and where you don't.
Right. You can watch our nutrient levels throughout the year and see that in the BioPath trials, we have higher nutrient levels almost across the board. There might be one nutrient that's a little less, but also at the end of the year, after watching this, you can see it in a tissue test. But sometimes you can't just look at a plant and say, oh yeah, it looks a lot better. But then when you take it to yield, you can see last year in this field, we had a 6.5 bushel advantage using the BioPath, and that's across the 40-acre plot.
That's
tough
good
to
return
do.
on investment.
Right.
So when it takes a bushel or maybe just a little more than a bushel, and you're getting 6.5 bushel in return, that's a pretty good return on investment.
That's right.
For a biological.
Let's pause the show right there. And here is Matt Sauter to tell us about how biologicals work.
Thanks, Sherry. Let me break that down for you. So BioPath and PowerCoat are both PGPRs, plant growth promoting rhizobacteria. And what they do is they create organic acids close to the root that liberate cations from the surrounding soil. Those cations are taken up and improve the nutrient use efficiency of the crop. What that does is that creates healthier plants, more robust plants, it increases root growth, and thereby typically increases yields by about 2%. In corn, this is 3.5 to 4 bushels of corn. Granvil, Steve, hope you guys have a great season.
Part of your goal is to get good, accurate information, right? And how do you utilize that?
Well, for one, we're using soil samples to get more accurate data so we can, I guess you would say, more itemize or more personalize every spot of the field. Because we may have 10 soil types, one planter pass across the field. So to be able to make changes as we go through those different soil types, that's why we grid sample. But then being able to overlay that with harvest data. One thing we do too is we have Steve come out with a weigh wagon when we start combining. We calibrate that machine so that it is accurate. We try to get it within 1%, because it all comes down to the more accurate we can be with our data, the more ROI positive decisions we can make going forward.
The main thing is it's repetition. Same thing over and over, 3 or 4 times during the season. So that way we got the same thing going on. When we get to the end to find our return on investment for that product, we've got a true example of that.
And you calibrate throughout the season, which I love to hear that, because oftentimes they'll calibrate when the season starts and then they move to beans and may or may not calibrate again,
I drag
right?
my weigh wagon around for 2 months, 3 months sometimes.
Helping calibrate
Helping
yield
calibrate.
markers.
Yeah.
Yep. That's one thing a lot of people don't realize is when you go from corn to beans and then back to corn, I always like to go ahead and recalibrate just to make sure it's accurate
Right.
and that it doesn't actually pull that soybean calibration over to your corn. And then also as moisture changes, 25% corn and 15% corn are totally different.
Right.
Hitting that mass flow sensor on your harvest monitor.
He'll watch that thing constantly driving. So this way, if there is a difference, he notices that, and then we go recalibrate it and get it set.
If you had to do this all over again, what would you change? And what would you tell somebody thinking about trying biologicals?
So I would say try some on your good acres, try some on your bad acres, and see how that compares for your different management and how the ROI is affected on your farm. Just because everybody farms a little bit differently. And so one thing I would do different is the first year I just tried it on one field of good dirt, and I wish I would have went ahead and tried it on my bad dirt as well, or my not so good dirt, just to have another year of trial results under me. We're seeing our biggest ROI by putting it out there earlier with the planter than we are with a side dress rig. So it just has more time to work when you put it on with the planter as of coming back with either a wide drop or a side dress.
And you want to get the BioPath as close to those roots as you can,
Exactly.
right? Because they're going to colonize quickly,
Yeah.
right? And stick with it.
They're going to do what they need to a lot quicker than.
Right.
He's putting it on 2x2, so he's putting it right there at the seed at that time. When the roots start to grow, they're going to grow right into the BioPath.
And that's exactly what we want.
Right.
Right.
Thank you guys. Appreciate your time today, putting up with all of us, being out here, and for sharing information about your farm. Because like you said, accurate information, everybody likes to hear that, and people trust that a little bit more, right? And for coming out and sharing from a retailer perspective, what it's like to try to sell a biological and what you guys are doing together, which is really awesome to see. So thank you very much.
I appreciate the time, the effort you put in, and especially the effort that Granvil does with me to put his time in and his trials.
What would we do without you?
Well, I appreciate everybody coming out today, and especially you, Sherry, for hosting us, and Steve. He never knows when I might call him and say, hey, I need this or I need that. So for him to be able to work close with me and be able to get me what I need, I appreciate that too.
Thank you.
It's all about teamwork, right?
It's all teamwork.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
That's right.
What a great time I had with Steve and Granville. Be sure to check out Frontier Fields, where you can follow Granville's entire year. For more information on crop nutrition, check out cropnutrition.com. Keep up to date and be sure to subscribe to Advancing Crop Nutrition.